factor on the front factor. No factory OE belt. This belt with XRC or XMR. We'll start here at the front. This is a bumper we have made. Style hose, the part number we give you. We'll get this done. What's up, everybody? This is Adam with Adrenaline Cycles coming at you with another video. This is the part 2 of the Raptor build. On this video, we're going to show you what it looks like before we got the body and everything on, which you done watched that video, and hopefully you come over to watch this video a few days later. As you can see, the truck's awesome. It looks great. But I want to give you guys a little insight. When we went looking to do this project and looking for certain things, there was not a lot of help out there as far as what you're getting into. Yeah, people say they can weld, they can do this, they can fabricate, they made a bumper for a side-by-side. But it's really in depth, guys, and that's what we're going to show you here on this buggy. Some of the behind the body, you know, parts and pieces that really made this truck turn out as good as it did. We're here at the front of the buggy here, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff that you have to be able to hang the fiberglass body on. The first thing we had to do, we had to fabricate a front end. Obviously, because the Raptor body is 2 foot longer than the X3, or really close to that. So we went and looked at a bunch of different things. So we had a good buddy of ours help us fabricate all this front end. So we got a tubular bumper, and then that's all tied in back to the main cage chassis where the cage bolts on. And then it's also tied in down to the bottom in the bulkhead. So it's got more support than the factory body ever thought about having, and it's definitely a lot stronger with the 1 3/4 tubing that we used. So the first thing you'll notice is the radiator's tucked in nice and safe here behind everything. Well, this radiator is pretty exposed even on the X3 with the front end on it. So when we removed all the plastic in the grill, we had to go ahead and give it some more protection. So we replaced the plastic grill with a metal mesh here to help protect it against sticks, rocks, chips, anything like that. And then underneath that, we do have a UMHD skid plate as well attached to the bumper to help give some protection and whatnot there. Coming on up into the bumper, we like the Baja design, so we went with like the tubular style bumper. Works out really well with that tubular design. We was able to, you know, integrate some really nice Baja design lights. We got low beams here, high beams up here. Again, with the Baja stuff, it works out really well. We've never had an issue with that stuff. It's just top notch. You know, we always use a KFI winch if the buggy don't come with it. That's a 5,000 pound wide spool. Like the wide spool, like the 5,000 pound, just to, you know, if you need to pull, you got it, and you got the length if you need it. Some other things we got on this is the CT suspension. And with this being a smart shock machine, you will see that it has the mounting tabs so the suspension works and performs like it does. Have a gusset kit in there also, and you got to have the CT tie rods as well, so you can keep this front end together even in the toughest, roughest stuff. I mean, their stuff is bulletproof. You know, you just can't ask for anything better from them. And then also on the front end, guys, like I said, a big thing that people don't think about this, when you start putting all these, you know, different lights on here, and we do have a street legal kit and all that, is the amount of wiring and doing it right. So you got, you know, weather pack connectors on everything. You don't have just like a wire nut on there or anything crazy. So everything has a nice weather pack connector on them. So it will last the life of the buggy. You won't have electrical issues, because that's the worst thing to ever have on a buggy is, you know, a gremlin running around because you can't never find it. With the turn signal kit, we did go with Corbin Customs, and we had really good luck with them. And, you know, it's got a horn and all that stuff, so you can ride it around on the street. And that's about it on the front of this machine here, guys. Like I said, well, you know, this, you know, what I call the inner structure, the skeleton of it, that's the hard part, because when you buy that kit, you don't get instructions. It's basically, you know, build it how you want it, but man, it's still tough, because we was out in front with jack stands holding the body up, trying to figure out where to mount stuff. Did we want to mount it here? You know, a lot of places are just mounted off the shock tower. We figured the shock tower done had a bunch of, you know, stress and stuff to it, so we really wanted to help support it. That's why we run back to the cage and done this bar here. And as you can see, it's really nice notched out, and it's tucked back in here and bolted up. And again, that's something, you know, yeah, this would work, but it's the extra step here, we think, for the longevity of this car being driven. It really did need that. We'll move to the center of the car and we'll talk about some of the mounts you do get and some of the mounts you don't get. All right, guys, we're here at the middle of the car, the cab of the car. Obviously, we got the, the cab off of it here so we can show you guys the brackets that it does come with. So when you order your kit, it comes in and you'll get these roof tabs here, this front one and then the rear one. So you'll have 4 of those total. And then this, you'll notice, is a custom H-brace, and that is one thing you will have to fab for this kit. We went on ahead and made one, in just a H-brace here, just similar to the OEM one. But you'll have to remove your OEM one because it sets too high and the roof would hit it. So it's got to come out and that's got to be fabbed up. And then you'll get this bracket here, which bolts to the stock cage mount using the bolts. And this will help align the outside of the whole door body side here. And so it bolts here and then it runs on down. Well, the down piece down here comes off your skid plate, off your rocker, and we remade one. We fabricated our own here. The one they send in the kit, you'll get one for each side, and it's like stamped sheet metal, really thin, and it only really holds the body. It doesn't give you any support, so if something come up, it could crack your whole body. And with this amount of money and this amount of effort and just how good it looks, we really wanted to take the step. So we mounted basically a rock slider and we beefed it up. So the body will mount to this, and we got a nice little mud guard skid plate here to keep the mud from flying up in. But this is 1 3/4 and it mounts in our factory X3 tree bar location. This is a body mount here, as you'll see. And then everything's just bolted in through the factory holes, except for this piece up here. This piece up here, we was worried about more leverage because it is, 4, 5, 6 inches wider than the car. Having that much leverage on there, we really wanted to make sure it was braced to not roll up. So this has got a big triangle plate that connects this bar and this down bar here, and then this bar is bolted to it. So it's got a ton of strength here. It's triangulated and triangulated and triangulated again. As you can see here, this is how far the body, sticks out. This is probably about a 5-inch tube, and then it just sticks out, and this is where the door mounts to the door frame, and it all come out. One thing we found out with the car as you're building this is the doors do not open as wide as OE doors when you put this kit on there. So just keep that in mind. If you're a big guy like me, might not be the best thing in the world. A smaller person, you'll like it, but there is a level of door openness that you can only achieve with the fiberglass. It's not going to go as wide as the factory door open when they swing plumb open out of the way. The body prohibits it with the door from opening all the way. We tried everything and it's just no way to do it. But like I said, the center part of the car, that's about the only bracket you get. Everything else, front you have to make, the back you have to make. This you do not have to make, but if you're going to drive your car, you might as well make this piece here because you've done fabbing the front and you're fabbing the back. Take some time right here because this is going to save you a lot of money in the run by it being strong enough to go down a rock, go down a tree, and not tear the body all to pieces. And that's why we went that route. We made it to where it would, be able to be driven and not just have to sit in a garage somewhere. That's pretty much it here on the middle of the car as far as what you have to make and fabricate. The doors, there's a lot of different ways we've seen the people take the doors. This is probably the straightforward and easiest when we got to looking at it because, like I said, the door has to sit off, but you got to figure out that distance. And, we just made it all removable. I mean, this door frame, if you did get into something and you broke the door frame, these pieces will unbolt and you can put it on your new door frame. So that was something we was concerned about too, the ability to be able to, repair it or replace it or do whatever you need to. If we'd welded all this on, the next guy, if he did have an issue with the door, say you left it open and it flew up and broke the frame, he'd be, in a bad spot. So with this, if you break the door frame, order another one and just bolt it back in. So works out really good there. Again, that's something we try to, think forward on some of this stuff. So, the end user has, some ability here to keep it looking good and repair it if it needs repaired. We'll go on to the back here and we'll talk a little bit about how the bed setup is and some of the other suspension components we're using in the back. All right, guys, we're here at the back of the Raptor truck and we're going to go over the bed and show you some of the cool stuff we got back here. As you've seen, the tires from the first video, we're going to highlight it again. These are System 3 XC450s. Really aggressive, but still a truck style pattern. Looks a lot like a lot of the Baja tires we was looking at. It's a 33-10-15 on our KMC wheels. This wheel is different for us. Normally we run a 0 offset or a 1 offset on all our XRS's cars, but with this one being the body as wide as it is, as we talked about earlier, we went with a 4-3 offset on this to give fill out them fender wells a little bit. As you seen in the first video, it needed that. With a normal 1 offset or 0 offset, man, that tire was tucked way in and it just didn't look right. So we did go, you know, it was something a little different for us, but it looks really good and works out. Another thing you'll notice is the nice spare tire rack we have on this thing. This again we had made to hold a tire. It will hold up to a 35, no problem. And you know, all this is, you know, like you've seen, Can-Am mounts here to strap it in, holds the tire really good. And then behind that, you'll see we got the standard intercooler with the cover still on it, because we did delete the bed. And then we got the air box as well. And we did put an air kit in that. Again, we block it off in the front to get the sound out the back. Works out really good. And that's just standard, guys. I mean, the P-Drive is quieter, but I mean, this still does help quieten everything down. Every little bit of sound you can keep out of the cab, I mean, it just makes a lot better conversation and just a better ride in the front. Back here in the back, you'll see we started at the top and come down. Basically, this was our main starting point. We come from the factory locations using the factory bolts, mounted the shock reservoirs in pretty much the factory location, and we just run down to the back, wound up making a nice little bumper here, again tubular style like the Baja trucks, trophy trucks. We did again some dimple die here just to give it a little more look than just being open or anything like that, so that worked out really well. And that's one thing, you know, we wanted to keep, you know, the front looking like the back. Sometimes people get carried away and want to look like one thing and want to look like another guy made it, so we tried to keep the symmetry the same, the front and the back. This here is a Q-Link rack off a ATV, and that's one thing we went back and forth on the bed. We could have done like a truck bed where it's just a big box, or we could have done expanded metal maybe. There's a bunch of different options, but really at the end of the day, with the Can-Am coolers, the 12-gallon boxes, the soft bags, all the options you have for a rack like this that's, you know, pick up off the shelf, get it anywhere online at a dealer. We just wanted this to be something that, you know, as a consumer that buys this vehicle, it's just easy to work, easy to get. You know, like I said, you can go online and get it. You don't have to, you know, hunt around trying to make something work. When you buy something like this, the hope and the, you know, of it is you go home and you enjoy it, and not have to hunt around for a bunch of stuff to make it work. Again, on the back, we went with, you know, we had to extend the harness because it is about 2 foot longer. Again, we use weather pack connectors and all that, so everything's nice and neat. And these will plug into a nice tail light. It's not a Can-Am tail light. We went with a different, well, it is a Can-Am tail light. It's not an X3 tail light. The X3 tail light doesn't lend itself very good to the flat shape of the trophy truck bed here, but we did use a Can-Am tail light, so it's the same connector. Again, you know, if something did happen and you break it, it's easy to go to the shelf and pick one up at a dealer and things like that. If you guys recognize the tail light, post in the comments down below what you think it come from, because I'm not going to tell anybody, maybe in a later video, but I'm just seeing if anybody does know what that tail light come out of. It is a Can-Am, so if you know or got a good hint or an idea, just post it down below and we'll see if everybody figures it out. But back to the machine here, as you can see, we do have some offsets back here in the back, and again, this is indicative of what I was telling you guys about the body does stick way out, and these are mounting points here. We're not finally got it all mounted, but this will have some nice tape, foam tape on here, and then it'll all be bolted together and everything. All the wiring is, like I said, run down nice and neat, in loom. You know, again, guys, we're not taking any, you know, chances doing shoddy stuff. Here you'll see we got a nice Borla exhaust. That turned out really well. We got the, you know, the factory, you know, header piece up here. We done away with the cat, so you got basically a straight shot, and this is, I think, a Borla race pipe, about 20 inches long. Sounds really good. Really reminds me of Yoshimura. It doesn't get really crazy loud. Just got a nice tone, so again, you can still drive it around. not drive the neighbors too crazy, and be able to have a conversation in the front. It worked out really well. We was all surprised how good that thing sounded. Also back here in the back, we got the unicorn of trailing arms, the CT RaceWorx Smart Shock trailing arms. Those things, man, are hard to get. I'm telling you, if you know a guy, you might get a set, but I'm telling you, they're tough. But we wanted this to be on the trophy truck. That again is another item that is just indicative of how well we want this truck to perform, and how well this truck will perform and hold up over the longevity of, you know, whoever decides to own it or purchase it. Because with those, and then we got the CT radius rods, I mean the stuff looks great already. And then we got the whole package. You got the suspension, you got the, you know, the performance of the X3, you got the look of, a Raptor truck. I mean, all in all, this thing is just a knockout. And, you know, we've had this project in our mind for a while, and we finally got around to it. We probably had the body for a year, but it's just with the COVID stuff and everything else, we just finally got around to making it happen, and wanted to share with you guys all the, you know, the stuff we couldn't find, because again, you know, it's not a lot of brackets when you get this kit. We know we'd had some fabbing work to do, but we did not know, like, you have no idea, because you get 6 or 8 brackets and that's it. And then the front end you got to figure out, the back end you got to figure out, and everything like that. So hopefully this video is giving you guys some ideas. Like I said, I've seen a lot of builds come and they build a whole custom cage and they don't use the factory cage, which, you know, we went that route because we do have some other features here that we wanted to use with the OE cage. But again, we know with all the fab work front and back, we didn't want to have to worry about fabbing that too. But I think the way we went about the rear half is probably your quickest, easiest way, and it still gives a great look coming off these stock mounting points, guys. So if you do get into that, keep that in mind. The front end, again, like I said, you can mount off the shock tower, but really brace it up in behind there somewhere else, because there's a lot of potential to just, you know, have a bunch of damage and not a lot of strength just off the shock tower mount. That's about it, guys. I appreciate you watching the video. As always, comment down below, like and share this video so we can get it out there, and just be safe out on the trail. No factory OEM belt. This belt with XRC or XMR. We'll start here at the front. This is a bumper we have made. Style hose, the part number we give you. We'll get this done.